The News 4 Tucson investigators reported back in July that Greyhound advocates were worried about the health of almost 40 dogs, animals that hadn't raced in an unusually long time. The track's general manager invited the public to see those dogs in person. And more than 2 months later, we wondered how many people were allowed in. Here's News 4 Tucson investigator Matthew Schwartz.
At the post, and they're off.
The News 4 Tucson investigators reported in July that dozens of dogs at Tucson Greyhound Park had been idle for an unusually long time. Greyhound advocates were worried about the health of 38 dogs that hadn't raced for at least 6 weeks because they typically race about every 4 days. Then we found out one of the Greyhounds' last 2 stars had been dead since February due to twisted gut. When we interviewed track general manager Dale Pop in July, he said all the dogs were fine, and he voluntarily extended this invitation.
The public has the ability. They can come in and say, hey, let me see one of the dogs. And I can make that happen.
The next day I called Dale Pop to ask him if I could come and check out the facility, as he had invited the public, the average viewer. I did not receive a call back. Then I called back again on July 27th and still have yet to receive a call back.
I'd love to see the kennels, Mr. Pop.
Cynthia David and Lisa Ritter-Baker are among 24 people who have called Pop to take him up on his invitation. David says she called him on July 16th and 17th, and that he called her back on July 22nd when she told him she'd like to see the dogs.
And has he been in touch with you?
He has not.
How many people have you allowed to see the dogs?
I haven't set up anything with anybody.
Why not?
I'd love to make good, but I will not put this track at risk for somebody to potentially do something unethical and purposely try to sabotage something to make us look bad. And without a doubt, there are people out there that are that close from being in the loony bin.
David and Ritter-Baker say they don't belong to any of what Pop calls special interest groups. They're simply concerned dog owners. Pop says he's worried that special interest group members would secretly feed the dogs something to make them sick and get the track in trouble with the state.
I think that's ridiculous. We're there to make sure that the dogs are safe, and it would be somewhat counterintuitive to go there to harm the dogs.
It's been more than 2 months since you invited the public to come see the dogs, and not one person has been allowed back there, Dale.
Eventually, hopefully, I'll be able to do that.
You made the invitation. I'm asking you, and you still haven't answered me, when, time frame, can they come see the dogs?
When it's convenient, and when this dies down to where it's not an emotionally charged telecast, when things are normal to where I don't have to worry about somebody sabotaging the backside.
Pop says he doesn't understand why there are any questions about the Greyhounds and told us several are racing again. He also cited last month's State Department of Gaming report that found that, excluding the dead dog, the 37 others were fine. But remember, the track initially did not tell us about the death of the last 2 stars. And the state initially told us the dog was euthanized in June, only later admitted the dog died 4 months earlier and was not euthanized.
I think we need some answers.
I would really like to see the real story, what goes on at the track.
When do you think you might allow them in?
As soon as possible. I mean, I have to get with the kennel people.
We will let you know what happens about Dale Pop's invitation. One reason so many people are putting Tucson Greyhound Park under the microscope of accountability, the track receives hundreds of thousands of dollars from the state every year in hardship tax credits. As we reported earlier this year, one state lawmaker from Tucson is going to propose in the next legislative session that the tax credit be abolished. If you have a story you'd like us to investigate, email us at investigators@KVOA.com or call 955-4444. Investigating for you, Matthew Schwartz, News 4 Tucson.